We are live. This is the market update. This is the post State of the Union market update. I am your host, Bill Noble. Do we really need the government to have crypto go up? I know, it's all the talk and tariffs and this and that. But let me ask you something funny. Bitcoin, we know, is a meme for hard money, right? Bitcoin is hard money. There is a Bitcoin supply shock coming just from the private sector demand, never mind the government. Ethereum hasn't gone up in 2 years. Solana is back where it was in September, and XRP was suppressed for 6 years. XRP kind of really went back to sort of where it spiked up to in 2018. So are we dealing with the market that's like way overextended? Like, oh my God, it's beyond reason, like 2021? I don't think so. Now, I guess the crypto market is starting a rally into this crypto summit, right? And I think the most bullish thing about the crypto summit is that Michael Saylor is going to be there, because that leads me to think that a Bitcoin deal has already been done one way or the other. Right? Who knows? Michael Saylor may actually be helping them get and custody the Bitcoin, because I can't believe Michael Saylor. I mean, if it's the Coinbase CEO, it's ceremonial. If it's Michael Saylor, it's for real. But my big question is, and this is something a lot of people are asking, do we actually need to sit around and have that be the only variable for crypto? I don't think so. And then I think there's another factor in that I think people in crypto are collecting themselves. You had wild volatility in both directions. And I'm actually happy, believe it or not, that after the State of the Union address, we just kind of like calmed down and went back to business. There isn't this like, oh my God, what's he going to say? Is he going to say Bitcoin? Is he going to say, yeah, man, let me put on my ski mask? You know what I'm saying? Is he for ski mask, dog? Everyone's waiting for that. And in a way, I'm happy they didn't get it, because we got to get off this whole idea that they're going to say something or do something immediately to moon everybody's bags, when the fact of the matter is crypto can moon its own bag. I always talk about the crypto stupidity switch that we sometimes flip. Now I'm wondering if we can flip the other way, meaning, hey, have I told you about the value proposition for cryptocurrency lately? Right? That's why I think Bitcoin's up 3% this morning and moving through 90. I mean, they were selling it yesterday. Like 82, 83, like it was going to zero, right? But it didn't go to zero, right? It didn't break. Now, I'm sure there's going to be excitement, disappointment, back and forth thing on this crypto summit. But at the end of the day, demand for Bitcoin is way bigger than what's available to buy. Way bigger. And the only way I think to get the kind of supply that these guys might need is to take over a crypto miner. So if stocks don't fall out of bed, because remember 2 days ago, hedge funds are attacking the yen and blah, 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 blah. Everyone's looking for the everything crash. I'm looking for the everything short squeeze. That's what I'm looking for, right? MicroStrategy. I know they dumped a bunch of tech stocks, but who cares? That stuff was wildly overvalued. As one guy I heard said, it's like a momentum shift. The momentum of those trades is lost and they're going into a range. And everyone's acting like it's the end of the world. Now, if you want to discuss something that may or may not be the end of the world, we got to start talking about what's going on in the U.S. labor market. We got to start having a serious conversation. We got a lot of mob justice stuff going on with the IRS. We got to start asking ourselves, if a football stadium full of people gets let go in one particular area, what happens? Real estate, banks, and I think corporations are following suit. Corporations are using these particular events as cover, and this has to mean lower rates. In some ways, what they're doing to the labor market is mooning crypto. It's more powerful than, the government doing anything directly in the market. So we'll talk a lot more about that, right? Okay. Let's welcome who's here. We have Vanessa in the house. Good morning. Holy Schmoly is here. East Aliens, Zapatas, Taz Pinball, right? Jav, the originals. Christian, Grandpa Keeter, what's up? East Aliens, CL Sim, what's going on? Up and down, up and down, up and down, right? Oh my God. There's a Will Noble out there. Hello, right? B Hunter, redheaded detective. Redheaded detective. Hi. Welcome. Where did I go? Calvin Jones, Eric, Old Smoky, Proto Hypes. Good morning. Sam, Bud 74, Hornet. Oh no, Ravio, Horace, Bud 74. Good morning. Okay. Let's get into some news, shall we? Okay, here we are with the latest from Bloomberg. Can you know who deliver on his promises? 12 reasons why not. We hate it so much, we can't stand it. We can't stand it. Okay, now one thing they are bringing up is wage growth, jobs created. They are, comparing Trump term 1 to Trump term 2, blah, 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 blah. Now, this is something that Bloomberg may be right on. Okay. Real wages, meaning, how your wages are holding up relative to inflation. Well, we know what the answer to that is. And we're not going to get the kind of job creation that he's looking for in the short term. Matter of fact, it could be the other way around. And this happened to Reagan in 1980, right? There was a fairly substantial contraction in economic growth when they got inflation under control back then. That was a totally different story. But just because you like the guy that's in power does not automatically mean that there's like a better job for you tomorrow. It doesn't. If anything, this whole thing looks like it's going the other way. Okay. Now, I'm sure there's no sympathy for this organization, right? I'm not saying there should be. There's no sympathy, right? But that's a lot of people, right? I mean, you got to remember Washington, D.C., Virginia. These are not huge areas. I mean, it is huge in terms of the amount of money, and it's just a gigantic mega center. But still, you start letting 50,000 people go. I mean, that's a lot of people. That's a lot. And if they're doing it at this organization, they're going to do it at every organization. They could take all these government agencies and do what they did at Twitter, right? Twitter's like, okay, we're going to operate with 20% of the staff, keep sales and engineering, everyone else goes. This is the Elon tactic. Now, again, this has massive labor market implications and massive Fed implications. I think if they're going to do stuff like this, they're going to have to put high-powered money in the system. Meaning this is this thing I talk about. I know it's a little weird, right? It is QE, but it's a potent form of QE that can be done in bursts. And, I think you're going to see it. It can be done via the Treasury or the Fed, right? And I think one of the reasons why, crypto may be rallying this morning, right? Crypto may be rallying this morning is that they smell high-powered money. Okay. Now, two breaking news items from the Eagle King. Very interesting. Robinhood lists Arbitrum. I don't understand why we need the government to moon our bags when ETH hasn't moved in 2 years. And most people holding ETH are actually not doing well. Like ETH has literally done nothing. Something that goes up when they put liquidity in the market. It's like, oh, it's a bubble. It's an everything crash. Really? Like people holding ETH haven't gotten any gratification in 2 years. Now, maybe you're like, well, that's because ETH stinks. Okay, maybe. Okay, but what's this whole, oh God, it's so overvalued, it's got a crash thing? Get out of here, right? And if even that's true, crypto has already crashed. Metaplanet is bringing Bitcoin yield to Japan. Boy, these guys are getting after it. You want to talk about eat the dip? These guys are eating the dip. These guys are like, listen, we thought, and I agree with them. I thought Bitcoin, and we all thought this. We thought Bitcoin was going to just take off and go to 120. Right? We thought Bitcoin was going to reset itself well above 100. And instead, they got a dip to like 80. Eat the dip. Private employers added just 77,000 jobs in February, way below expectations of 148. This is a privately produced job number. I don't know if there's any such thing as an accurate number in economics anymore, but clearly there's something going on with the labor market. Clearly. This was the whole justification for the tightening cycle, right? Supposedly, right? The real reason for the tightening cycle was that they massively screwed up and left QE on for like 5 years too long. We will plant the American flag on Mars. Well, I guess Elon's doing a lot of free work and he's a really expensive guy. So I guess we're going to spend $1 trillion or more going to Mars. Okay, that's cool. But don't let them kid you about government spending. Please don't let them do that. We're going to find all these wastes. We canceled a $238,000 grant, for growing rare plants, on a windowsill somewhere in Asia. Dude, we owe $37 trillion, and this is a T. So they're just going to move it from one place to the other. Again, it's not about who you really like inside any administration. They're just going to take the money and go somewhere else with it. And you got to ask yourself, is that not an argument to buy Bitcoin, whether or not they buy it or not? Honestly, this also includes Web3, right? Seriously. We're going to spend $1 trillion to go to Mars and not invest in Web3. We may have to invest in Web3, right? Because I don't really want these characters running everything. I just don't. Okay, there's the employment thing. Okay, and now we have this game where, I'm going to threaten you with tariffs, and then the stock market goes down, and then we back out of it and squeeze all the shorts. And I'm going to tell you something right now. This guy, these commerce secretaries, all these guys, Cantor Fitzgerald, George Soros, man, do they know how to get everybody off balance, man. They get everybody selling, everybody short, and then they just squeeze them all out, right? This is very typical. Now, that doesn't mean the orange man is not going to continue to scare people with the tariffs. I continue to believe, very simply, tariffs are not a reason to sell crypto. They're just not. Tariffs create disruptions in fiat currency markets. Tariffs can create disruptions in equities. And I'm going to tell you something that people are going to think is stupid. I don't care about what goes on in equities. I don't care, right? They've had this AI-based revaluation. They've been feeding on Fed sugar and government spending and that kind of stuff. And that's going to come to an end. But I don't know if it comes down to a 50% correction. I don't think so. There's going to be a big equities correction, but why are we going to live in crypto in permanent fear of stuff like this? It doesn't make any sense. Now, this I think we should pay attention to. China says if war is what the United States wants, be it a tariff war or a trade war or any other war, we're ready to fight to the end. Okay. So, there is probably a limit with these guys because their economy is already destroyed. And this is a threat to their national security. So I don't know how far they can take this whole tariff thing because their economy collapsing is not in anyone's interest. And if something happens to their currency, I think Hong Kong turns into a major crypto financial center. Major. In fact, I think they're working on that right now. And I also think these guys may start doing a strategic Bitcoin reserve. If there are any miners still over there, they may just take over whatever miners are left over there and just have all that flowing directly into their treasury. Like, this is a sign that, this is their own play around and find out. This is also a sign of the level of economic distress that you have over there. If you want to know what the world's biggest problem is, it's not XRP. It's not your bags, right? Or my bags, right? The biggest problem in the world is problems with fiat. And this guy is telling you there is an epic problem in fiat, in legacy, because their economy cannot handle whatever the orange man is talking about dishing out. Okay. So the Canadians, Trudeau, let me just explain to you. Let's just explain this. Trudeau's party, they proposed a bill. It didn't get through, but they proposed a bill that was effectively thought crime, like the movie Minority Report, which is something you should watch. I mean, yeah, the bill was aimed at getting very serious bad guys, but it would have applied to a lot of people. They could have locked you up for thinking or saying the wrong thing forever, for your rest of your life. So if the orange man picks on this guy, I don't really have a problem with it, because what he's really telling them is don't ever do this, don't ever do this crazy Orwellian 1984 stuff again. Okay. And it also implies that, if the orange man says he's going to do it and he says he's going to push people around, he's going to do it. Now, whether these tariffs stick or not, I don't know. But the aggression is what I'm pointing to as to how it could benefit crypto. It's also about vanquishing this guy. I think if it was a different person in charge of Canada, we would not. I mean, I know he's leaving, but we would not be hearing this. We wouldn't be. Okay. Because, the Canadians they already have absurd tariffs on all of our farm goods, which is why their food prices are so out of control. Right? A 270% tariff on all dairy products, chicken. This is what they already have in place. They're destroying their own people. Sovereigns do not have your best interests at heart. Sovereigns make your milk 270% more expensive, and then other sovereigns take your money and go to Mars. I'm just saying, this is a fact, right? And then meanwhile, everyone in crypto is either selling on the wrong thing, or waiting for these characters to moon their bags when we should be going up, rebelling against them. Okay. We have 3 deflationary attack: Doge, deregulation, and drill, baby, drill. All right. So the good news is, cutting government spending is theoretically good as long as you don't turn around and spend it somewhere else. Deregulation is obvious, right? Just let the private sector grow. That's worked many times before, and get the energy out of the ground. Okay. But again, at the end of the day, these things do have a stimulating effect. So they're going to put money out there, and there's an employment problem. That sounds like a double win. It's like lower rates and more liquidity out there. It's just, it's a fact. And they want industries to grow. So this thing with the labor market, and then, if you can use these things to reduce inflation pressures, you can have lower rates, right? This can equate to lower rates, hopefully, and have it not be a disaster. Wow, look at this. We've all decided to get along again because the orange man said so, right? If he says it, he means it. And if they crash the stock market, then they maybe back off a little bit, but he's still determined. Still determined, right? Okay, here's Ross at the White House. Really happy for this guy. I think this is one of the most positive signals about the administration being friendly to crypto. I mean, Ross getting pardoned is one thing. Ross being at the White House, wow. Good for him. Good for us. It's like people don't realize, and I think this has been lost too. The SEC has dropped every lawsuit. Everyone's looking for regulatory clarity. You have it. They dropped all the lawsuits. We have a license to go up. Trump's probably sitting there in office going, what is everyone's problem? We dropped every lawsuit. We're giving you a license to just take it up. Yet, I mean, 2 days ago, we were selling like what ETH was below 2K. They were selling Bitcoin like it was going to go to 0. And they were selling stonks too. They were selling everything. It's like, dude, we're going to deregulate everything. We're going to get everybody off your back and you're selling. What is wrong with you people? I mean, he might say that. I would. It's like, hey, guys, I'm on your side, right? Okay. So I think this is the most bullish thing that I've heard in terms of crypto and government being connected. I don't think Michael Saylor would be at the White House unless they were going to like do something. Otherwise, there's no point in putting him there. I mean, what would they do? They would bring him there, do nothing, and then Michael Saylor goes on Twitter and says, yeah, they're all stupid. This is a big disappointment. I don't think so. I think all this talk about having assets to help do something about the debt, because I do think that all the things that you've heard from the administration, like this IRS show and all that, this is a distraction from a $37 trillion problem. This is a big problem. We have problems, the Japanese have problems, and the Chinese have problems. And there's only one solution, and I kind of agree with Michael Saylor. And you know what? It's Bitcoin. I can't make an argument that sounds better than to say whatever's going on with sovereigns, whatever's going on with currencies, whatever's going on with debt, Bitcoin at the end of the day. Bitcoin, right? It's just, I don't know. It just, I woke up and I was like, because I saw the market not lose its mind over the State of the Union. And then we have like Metaplanet, right? Jumps 20% as they just buy Bitcoin. The Japanese are hip to this. It's really amazing that more companies over there are not doing it. And I get it, right? If you thought Bitcoin, and I know I said this already, but I'm going to say it again. If you thought Bitcoin at 100 was going to blow through and reset itself at 120, and instead it went down to 77, and even in that case, people were calling for one final new low. People always want one more new low so they can buy, and they don't get it. But I mean, if you were some big corporate player and you're like, okay, well, we have to add this to our treasury. How are we going to get liquidity? Oh my God, they just gave everybody liquidity, right? They came up with this tariff thing. The Bybit thing triggered a liquidation, and everybody took advantage of this to crush the market down. They did it twice, right? The Orange Man's initial announcement, everyone was like, oh, let's fade it. All these guys, and they made money. It's good for them. They're like, oh yeah, I faded it. And I guess if it goes up 15% in one day, that's not sustainable. But these bigger players are like, oh my God, look at these ninnies. We came out and said, reaffirm what we already know, and they hit it again. And they gave you an opportunity. And I don't know, they're buying a lot. That's a lot of money. But, if everyone's selling and everyone's puking and retail is puking and everyone's getting out and everyone thinks it's a big, guys are asking me, it's a good question. I mean, it's not a bad question. Guys are asking me, hey, Bill, what's the bear market level in Bitcoin? I'm like, well, I guess it's after Michael Saylor got liquidated, but why are we even talking about that? And I know why we're talking about that, because everybody looks at the price action. Everyone looks at crypto Twitter. Everybody looks at the Doomberg and the news flow. I mean, what you look at matters. People have taught me. I've learned some of this stuff the hard way. Trump to decide on tariffs today, right? Trump calls chip subsidy, right? Smallest job gain, right? This is Doomberg, right? All day long. I think this is all wrong. It's just all wrong, right? Okay. Trump's crypto summit. Who's in, who's snubbed, and why it matters. Okay. So this goes back to crypto tribalism. Okay. Multi-coin capital, Kyle Samani will be there. Now, who is that? Let's talk about that. So that's the guy who was in Solana or helped finance Solana from the beginning. He had a red Ferrari with Solana as the license plate. I saw it. I saw the car physically. I think when you have a guy like that who's capable of building, because multi-coin is very convicted and obviously very smart. Sometimes they don't make the right moves. Like they didn't take profits in Solana when they could have. In 2020 run, they wrote it all the way back down to 10, and I think they just held it. So I don't know if that's smart or not, but he's a builder and he knows how to build a lot. So if you got that guy and you got Michael Saylor there, wow. Like Kyle Samani is effectively representing Team Solana. Now, what can happen at this is that you can't have this like crypto tribalism. Like everyone's going to say, well, I didn't get invited. When's my coin in? How does this work? I continue to believe that he's just going to look at these people and be like, you guys, like whatever is in the press will not be accurate about this. Because he's just going to look at these guys and be like, listen, build something now. That's why Michael Saylor is there, because he has a computer company, right? Like Garlinghouse is there because he has the 1,000-person marketing and technology arm attached to XRP, which is why I'm long XRP. Like I bought the dip, right? This is why I bought Bitcoin, because I think he's going to tell Michael Saylor that Bitcoin can't just be this doorstop that you post. You got to get the computer company rolling on Bitcoin. You can't name the company strategy with the Bitcoin logo and then just sit on it. Now, I don't know how long that's going to take, but if I was the orange man and I didn't know anything about crypto, I would just walk into the room and say, you guys better get your heads together and build something right now, because everything that they've been doing is a distraction from the real problem. And I think the market is already picking this up. I think the market is picking this up. Okay, here we go. I think you're going to see it on Friday. See, Eagle King. I spoke it and the Eagle King finds it. You know what I'm saying? It's like they can't not do it. They just can't. It's like, I don't care what they say in the headlines. I know the volatility makes you want to barf. I understand that. They have to do it. They just have to do it because they don't have a growth industry. They just don't, right? It's got to be crypto. Like you can't just fire everybody. Something has to have explosive growth, right? I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? And, guys like this, the IMF is trying to get these guys to stop buying Bitcoin. Really? I'm just going to make a general comment that there has been a lot of strange political tweets going on, right? Like, some guys are getting picked up at the airport. Some guy, IMF is trying to stop these guys from buying Bitcoin. Health secretaries are making comments about the Middle East. It's all very strange to me, right? It's all a sign that, it's not the perfection that the right thinks it is. And it's not the unbelievable nightmare that the left thinks it is. It's just a $37 trillion problem. And I understand it's really hard. Hopefully this is the benefit of the show, right? Is that I'm trying to keep it together so I can be like this guy, right? And just not get dragged into the mess. Okay. So let's go to some live TA. So I think, you have the 200-day moving average in Bitcoin at 85. And I think that may just be like the number, right? You can draw like all kinds of stuff. Bitcoin did come back and retrace 38%. And we could go through the whole history of Bitcoin bull markets, but it's not atypical to see a Bitcoin market retrace 38% of a move. Matter of fact, it happens all the time. And matter of fact, in markets, it's actually healthy. So yeah, I understand your altcoin bags are down like 80%. I understand that. But like if you looked at this, right, and you said, well, it's not Bitcoin, it's not my bag. It went to the premium zone and then it came back to equilibrium, retested the 200-day moving average, retested the 38% retracement. Everybody gave up. And then, you got the Lux Algo triangle buy signal down here. what do you want to do with this market? I mean, this feels like a recipe for a very big rally. Honestly, regardless of what they do. Like, I know there can be a disappointment trade, and I know the market's hanging on their every word, and I understand that. I think you do too. So you're tuned into the show for what new information? The new information is that once they get done with all this talking, and once the market gets done with all these wild gyrations, what exactly is wrong with this picture? Right? You know, if you look over here, this is ETH versus Bitcoin, and I'm watching this like a hawk, okay? You got a 13 bottom on the daily chart, ETH versus Bitcoin. You're working on a tandem 9 bottom next. So you're going to have every signal in creation for ETH. And the reason I bring up the labor market incessantly, okay, is that if you get lower rates or you get weakness in the labor market and the Fed acknowledging that, that could ignite gold, which could also ignite silver and bring the dollar down. ETH does really well. Like, here is the dollar crashing below the 200-day moving average. And no one in crypto is talking about this. No one. Everyone's like, oh, it's the yen. It's, you know, oh my God, you know, it's all over in Japan and the yen carry trade and stock. Okay. Yeah, that could be a problem, but the dollar is still moving lower. And everyone in crypto is like, oh yeah, well, it's bad. All right. Well, the yen carry trade is serious, but I don't know that it's bad. I really don't. We'll do some more TA. All right. So let's be objective. Solana. You know, I used to work with this guy. English was not his first language. So we worked in this bond trading room, and every time any market was like anything in the bond market was unchanged, because, you know, it was a trading floor was designed to take advantage of volatility. So he would stand up and say, 5-year note futures, unchanged. Thank you for coming in. Meaning, thank you for coming in, even though there was nothing to do. And you look at Solana, right? You know, where was Solana like a couple days ago? February 25th. I don't know, 147. Where's Solana now? 143. You know what I'm saying? Like, all the way up, all the way down. Where are we? Exactly where we were like 2 weeks ago. And we're all like psychologically shattered. We're all messed up. We're all like, okay, when's the next blow up? I don't think so. Seriously. Like, yeah, I mean, I guess if they say, you know what, we're not doing crypto, to hell with this, you're all dummies. Okay, that's going to create a reaction, but anything else, crypto can just go back to business at that point. Like, I'm actually at a point where I'm looking forward to these summits being over, because I think they have to do something. They want to do something. And the most important thing is why they need to do it. Okay, so I just can't get negative on ETH. I just can't. I mean, it's now actually time, I think, to stop ignoring ETH and start bull posting. Because, you know, this 13 bottom, this is like, you know, this to me feels serious. Now, of course, ETH can't get off the map because nothing can. But when he says build something, that's, you know, XRP, Solana, and ETH, right? Those are like the key. And I think the biggest winner coming out of this summit could wind up being Cardano and Chainlink. I have no idea why everyone is doubting this thing about Cardano when Charles Hoskinson was kind of like, you know, he was kind of like the first guy in the door on the strategic reserve. And Cardano critics will tell you that, you know, Cardano doesn't necessarily do anything. Like, you said, what goes on Cardano? You're like, I don't know. Right. But if they start building on Cardano, I don't know, man. Is it, you know, is it worth 60 cents if they actually start using it when this has been, you know, dormant outside of like crypto influencer pumps? You know what I'm saying? And this DeMark work, this is when you should actually be buying the dip, right? So the initial move, they give you the dip, but the the bullish outlook is still intact. It's the same thing with XRP. This DeMark work actually survived this debacle. It's intact. I mean, you could have 5 more up days in XRP, right? Now, are we going to just sit here? Is it going to be like this, right? When these guys are on the tape for a week, or does it have a shot at 3 something? I mean, it's just a simple question, right? It's like, are we done with the drama? Because that's what it feels like. It feels like crypto is like some sort of after school special about teenagers where, every zit, every breakup, every tweet, every Instagram post, every Snapchat is like the drama of the day. In some ways, it's exhausting, but it's not terrible, because I think when they're done, right? Let's hope the great state of Texas comes through. The Texas legislature is not as, let's say, conservative as you think it should be, believe it or not. There's actually kind of like a nefarious element in there sometimes, but I love Texas, man. I grew up in Jersey, and I know this is not necessarily a market update subject, but I mean, it's like you get here, you eat the barbecue, you go to a college football game. Let's just say you go to a sporting goods store and you never want to leave. You never want to leave. So hopefully, and Texas has done things with gold before. So hopefully they just get all over this. Why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? Okay. So pet project, antivirus. Okay. We are waiting and waiting and waiting. I have a few ideas on how to help with YouTube and interviews. I just used the antivirus token to buy an antivirus hat. Okay. You're going to be able to buy green plants with the antivirus token. They have a Solana mixer. They have stuff. And I know you guys know this, but I'm waiting for a lot of stuff in crypto to wake up. There's a lot of stuff out there that has not been unlocked yet. Right. And this idea of a McAfee meme, and that AI agent, even though Twitter doesn't like it, that started a storm. It did, right? It's bringing John McAfee back, and I don't know. I'm just really interested in the fundamentals of that project and the technicals of bigger the base to higher in the space, because you know what? It actually held through the whole down market. Now, the coin that's near and dear to your heart, Ski Mask. Let's talk about it. Okay. Got to get above 8 cents. Give me a crypto market that can do something good by itself. By itself. Right? Like everyone's like, oh, it's the government's job to pump my bags. It's not. It never will be. It never was. But why does the government want to get involved in crypto? That is the question you need to be asking yourself. Right? Because Michael Saylor is the only one who's saying it. That if you want to pay off the national debt, which is a little crazy, but, we had Robert Kennedy's idea a long time ago about backing the currency and bonds with Bitcoin, using Bitcoin as a way. I mean, the first candle, it was actually the second big daily candle in virtuals. Hard to believe that this thing is all the way back to where it was before the election. It's not all the way back. So this is Thanksgiving in virtuals. From zero, a 23,000x, from 0 to 5 billion to 800 million, if I'm looking at this correctly. 800 million. This is why I'm so excited about some things, inside crypto. I think the Kaizen guys were looking at AI XBT. I mean, let's just see where some of this stuff is. I mean, it's like it's destroyed, right? It's like all this stuff is in like ski mask dog territory, where it's just like it basically broke every single level. And, you may need to ask yourself about value investing in crypto. It's like, where are there areas in crypto where, you can unlock substantial amounts of value? Okay. Okay. So Alex is making a really good point. So he says, Ross, this guy that got pardoned, we just call him Ross. His last name's tough to pronounce. So, Ross built something called the Silk Road. The Silk Road was an open marketplace. So when you have any open marketplace, bad guys are usually early adopters of new technology. In America, they have something called a muscle car, which is like a really fast car. People who were trying to move alcohol illegally in the 1920s started using these types of vehicles to get away from law enforcement. So frequently, cool inventions are adopted by bad guys. So Ross makes this thing, bad guys adopt it, and this person in the comments is making a note that Ross full well knew it. Full well knew it, right? And, the thing that's funny is a guy like Charlie Shrem, who I worked for, he made a Bitcoin exchange in New York. Like, he actually tried to make a place where you could physically go to trade Bitcoin. I think it was actually on Wall Street somewhere where you could physically go to walk in and do Bitcoin. Now, Charlie was moving Bitcoin in his little trading brokerage firm on behalf of Ross and Silk Road, fully aware of what was going on Silk Road. And Charlie went to jail and didn't get a pardon. So Ross became this like libertarian symbol, but was Ross squeaky cleaned? No way. Now, is Ross a good symbol for crypto and libertarianism? Yes. Was it a good political move? Yes, because he promised it. But was Ross perfect? No. Was that the right person to pardon? I don't know. Okay. My point is, make sure you question everything that happens. So if there's a drama at the White House, question that. Because in crypto, we're here to question people. And if anything, Ross, if he did something good, he moved outside the system, and so did Charlie Shrem. And so did Roger Ver and all these other guys. Like, McAfee was hunted down by organizations that are being downsized currently by 50%. So none of these guys were perfect, but I want to conclude with the idea that Ross's message was that we don't need governments to tell us what to do. We don't need governments to moon our bags. I'm sure that's what we want, right? Sure, that's what we want. But crypto can go up anyway. It's a theoretical yet radical notion that as long as they're not regulating us and as long as the sovereign wealth fund is going to invest in it, can we finally do our own thing? Or do we have to stop hanging on every headline? Okay, so let's see what we got. Here we go. I like this. Laura Loomer, who was an influencer that got shut off by Elon, a right-wing influencer who got shut off by Elon, demonetized. Then I think once Elon heard about it, he came in after letting her sit there and literally cry on Twitter because they just rugged her livelihood. So then they restored her monetization. Then Elon came in and followed her. Now she's super popular again. But listening to her, she wound up on the wrong end of these guys. They were scared of talking John McAfee. They were scared of Laura Loomer. But here she is. She's back. And I'm happy about that because now she's noting that the U.S. Supreme Court just decided that, the president of the United States can't decide who gets foreign aid, which is out of the State Department, which is under the executive branch. Okay. That's interesting, right? Do sovereigns have your best interest at heart? And just because you like, or, oh, I didn't share the screen. Sorry, my bad. Just because you like or don't like who's there, you have to start asking yourself, right? What happens if the whole crypto system takes one look at this, right? So basically, the court somehow is overruling. How is that? I don't know. But welcome to pushback. Everyone's like, yeah, if Trump wants it, Trump's going to get it. That's true, but they're going to fight him. And when they show their face like this, all they want to do is buy Bitcoin. I know that I don't know if that sounds crazy to you or not, but when you see this type of stuff, right, you ask yourself, the Chinese in fiat, right? Everybody waiting for the government to moon your bags. Let's moon our own bags. Because I don't know if sovereigns have your best interests at heart. I don't think so. Like, are we waiting for someone to give us something, or are we going to go out and just take it? Right? Like, crypto is your freedom. So they tried to rattle you out over the last 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. Are you still here? You still got crypto? Well, good for you. If you dealt with that kind of volatility, you got to stick around and get the reward. Okay, that is the market update for today. I will see you tomorrow.